Board of Appeals screen to come up, and then the windows next to it with all of our pictures. That is an option.
That's what I have right now. I see all the 6.
Okay, the meeting is currently live on Facebook.
Can you hit the view option?
Carolyn, you good? You don't want to be on video? Check it.
Okay, I have stopped sharing my screen.
All right, now I think that,
Now we can see you all in large picture.
yeah, I think that is the way we should start.
Right, right.
Mary, if we need to have some of the documents put on the screen for the public, then we can do it that way. Will that work?
Sure.
And I will say that we gave instructions for Mr. Parks to join the meeting as the alternate.
He has joined the meeting.
Okay.
Let me see if I can. He is on there as on his phone. I am not able to give him a more active role than that, but I will allow him to speak, and then that way he can interact with you.
Very good.
Mr. Parks, I'm assuming that you can hear me. You should be receiving instructions on your phone on how to unmute. I believe all you have to do is hit *6.
I believe so.
I see Doug's phone, but his,
He's muted right now.
Well, Dave, if there's a quorum, I would suggest you go ahead and start the meeting. Again,
we have
Mr. Parks, if
we
you
have a
can
quorum.
hear me, I believe that all you need to do is hit *6 to unmute your telephone.
Yes, Mary, we have a quorum.
Okay, you're live on Facebook, so you can begin whenever you wish.
well, let's do this. Let's let Doug join the meeting if he's able to do so. I see that his phone indicating is there. If he can unmute it, then I think we'll be okay, but we've got a quorum. So let me call to order the Berlin Board of Zoning Appeals for the meeting Wednesday, February 3rd, 2021. The first.
Am I unmuted?
There
You're
you go.
unmuted. Very good.
Okay. So we have all 5 members of the board present and in attendance. And so we will entertain a motion to approve the minutes of September 2nd, 2020. Is there a motion?
I approve the minutes. Bob Palladino.
Second?
I'll second the minutes. I'll second it. Woody Bunting.
Seconded. Are there any additions or corrections? And if not, the minutes of September 2nd will be approved as submitted by Carolyn in our packets. The next matter on our agenda is the election of a chairman and vice chairman. Are there any nominations?
I nominate Joe Moore to be the chairman. Woody Bunting again.
All right, is there a nomination, any other nominations? All right, are there nominations for vice chairman? And I'll nominate Woody Bunting. Any other nominations? All right, I'll entertain a motion that the nominations be closed.
I make a motion that the nominations are closed.
Second?
I second.
Okay. Anyone in opposition? If not, then the nominations are closed, and thank you. We appreciate it. Mr. Engelhardt.
Yes, sir.
The next matter on our agenda is an appeal requesting a variance from the rear setback requirements specified on the plat for lot number 3, tax map 300, parcel 1231, And the applicants are Donald and Helen Ferguson. So if you'll just give us a quick review of that, Dave, we would appreciate it.
Yes, sir. This is very similar to, if you remember the case, we had the appeal in the September 2nd, 2020 meeting, also on Broad Street, the corner of Harrison Avenue, from the Greens and Patsy Bell for the construction of a deck off her brand new home on this Mount Pleasant subdivision. It created 2 lots when they did the subdivision. There is a building restricted line on each lot, and they are kind of oddly shaped and narrow as far as the depth. The problem being they have to meet a major collector street setback, which is deeper off of Broad Street because it's a state highway. So the houses have to be pushed back further. The building restricted line specified on the plats don't allow for a deep enough construction. So we granted that special exception of variance to Ms. Bell to extend a deck off the back of her house. And the Fergusons are asking for a very similar thing. The screen porch on the back of the house represents almost the same kind of encroachment over the building restricted line in the rear of 9 feet for the house that they would like to build sometime in the near future.
I do want to say one thing for the record for the public, if there's any public in attendance. The exhibits as well as the agenda and the documents that the board has been presented with has been on the Berlin portal, Dave, as I understand it, because I'm there. So what we are viewing, and I don't know if any of the members need it to be pulled up, I guess Mary or Carolyn could do that. The site plan for the BZA Lot 3 Mount Pleasant, but it shows graphically the lots owned by Mr. and Mrs. Ferguson, as well as the adjoining lots.
Joe, if I might, before you get too deep into that, I would like to mention that I prepared the site plan. This is Woody Bunting, by the way. I was again compensated for my work. I feel I can be fair in judging this, but if anyone does feel I should recuse myself, that will not be an issue. You certainly have enough members to make the decision.
Well, Woody, if you had to recuse yourself every time we looked at a site prepared by Woody Bunting, then you'd have to do it. But any board members believe that Woody can't render a fair and impartial judgment on the matter? Yeah, of course you can, Woody.
Well, thank you. I just wanted to make the board aware, though.
I appreciate that. That's for the record, and it's noted. Mrs. Ferguson, you are in the foreground of your photograph or your video, so I don't want to presume that you are the spokesperson, but I noticed you also signed the letter. But let's do this. If you and Mr. Ferguson will just raise your hands, I will swear each of you in at the same time. And I do not see either of you on my screen, but I presume that you are doing so. So
They are.
There.
you do solemnly declare and affirm that the testimony you're to give before this board is the truth and the whole truth.
I do.
And just for the record, there you are. State your names and address, please.
The dog does too.
Helen Teresa Ferguson, 326 William, Unit 102, Berlin, Maryland, 21811.
Okay. So you are the applicants and you have presented a photograph of your home, which we are looking at on the middle of the screen, which is very attractive and certainly indicates a replication of a historic house. We also have right-hand side of the screen, plat prepared by Mr. Bunting of the site plan for Lot 3 at Mount Pleasant. Mrs. Ferguson, if you will, or Mr. Ferguson, whichever, whatever you want to tell the board, certainly you're free to do so.
Okay, I have prepared something to say because I get a little nervous with this kind of thing. So hopefully you'll permit me to read that.
Certainly.
Okay. First of all, I want to thank you all. Good evening to everybody, and thank you for your time and consideration. My husband and I, being the owners of Lot 3 Broad Street, have begun the process, obviously, of planning the home we want to build there. A lot of thought, purpose, and care has gone into our selection of the home plan and how we'd like it placed on the lot. We have clearly, unfortunately, found that the odd shape of the lot will not permit us to build our house as designed without the rear covered screen porch exceeding the rear BRL. Therefore, we're asking for the 9-foot variance from the platted 40-foot rear building restriction line. In the packets provided, I obviously included the drawing of the house that we plan and the site plan. Our reasons for choosing this specific home plan and siting are, one, we believe that our choice of the home being a 1920s replica bungalow really lends itself to the surrounding architecture of Berlin. It offers a good deal of curb appeal, and I believe it'll enhance the neighboring property value. The siting of the home, as shown, I also believe creates an aesthetically pleasing, visually balanced streetscape when you view the 3 houses that are contiguous there, 211 Broad, our lot at Lot 3, and Patsy Bell's house at 203 Broad Street. And that would be like when you're looking at it from the Broad Street or the Henry's Mill Drive perspective, if you're across the street looking at the 3 properties. Because the neighboring home of the Ercolinos at 211 Broad Street, which was built in 1950, is sited so closely to our common property line, we are attempting to permit as much space as possible between our new home and theirs. I feel this will permit both of our households the enjoyment of a comfortable level of privacy and will hopefully allow the Ercolinos the continued enjoyment of the peaceful lifestyle to which they are accustomed. And thirdly, we also hope to save the 70 to 100-year-old pecan tree that's in the left rear portion of our lot. I feel that the tree enhances our natural environment and air quality, and we've already had some trim work done to this tree. And in so doing, we've developed a further plan to save the tree through the use of an arborist. If successful, this tree is going to provide us some instant mature landscaping, some shade, and I also feel it imparts a bona fide quality to our house that further suggests that our house had already been in existence there since perhaps the 1920s or 1930s, which is what I'm hoping to accomplish. So we've also shown in the provided packets, and I know you've seen this, but that all of our immediate neighbors, all of our contiguous neighbors, Patsy Bell, her son up on the hill, and Vincent Ercolino, they have no objection to this variance that we're seeking. And obviously we're hoping that you'll agree with them. So that's it in a nutshell.
Mr. Moore, just for the edification of those watching, there is one more slide. I just wanted you to have the opportunity to review that as well.
Yeah, that's the floor plan.
Right.
Yeah.
I want one.
Okay. Mary, if you'll go back to the previous slide, please. I think that's more, yeah. I noticed obviously that the lot is an irregularly shaped lot with the less depth adjacent to lot 2 on the east side. And as Mrs. Ferguson has said, that moving the property, moving the improvement on the property toward the Ercolino lot would lessen the potential effect of the porch. But as I understand it, Ms. Ferguson, both for the use and enjoyment of the surrounding property and the intrusion into the historic tree, that would be much more intrusive. Is that correct? So,
I'm sorry.
yeah. I'll repeat, if you moved it toward the wider part of the lot, which is on the left or the west side,
Yes,
it would not only be intrusive to the Ursulinos, but it would adversely affect the tree that you're trying to save. Is that correct?
I believe so, yes.
Right. And folks, this is just a kind of an editorial comment. Under the Ocean City Code, and I recognize we're in Berlin, but under the Ocean City Code, were this application to be considered because of what we allowed the neighbor, Ms. Gray, to do on Lot 2, this would be a special exception rather than a variance. So it would have a much less significant circumstance with regard to proof. The only people that are affected, as I see it, are Steve Green to the rear, Jill to the right, and the Ursulinos to the left. And it is correct, and the board members have the documentation. Each of those have said that they had no objection to the request, so it doesn't affect the use or enjoyment of surrounding properties. Any questions from board members?
Yeah, I have one question. Dave, I guess this would be a question for you. Is the zoning for this area considered historic?
It is not in the historic district, no.
Okay. That's all I have.
But it is a house that would be complementary to the historic district. And I think, I don't know, I won't speak for the Historic District Commission, but if it were to be put on an empty lot in the historic district, they would approve, because it is a period architecture.
That's why I asked.
Yeah.
Any other questions for the board members? Is there anyone else that has joined the meeting who would like to be sworn and state anything with respect to this application by Mr. and Mrs. Ferguson?
There is one individual who is watching the meeting. I will unmute that person simply so they can express whether or not they do have anything to say about this particular topic. Ms. Tomasello, if you can hear me, if you can just unmute to let us know if you have any comments.
Mr. Tomasello is the second appellate, Mary.
Yeah,
I realize that.
Oh, I'm
I just wanted to make sure that if she had anything to say, she had that opportunity.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, Pino, you're up next, but do you have anything you want to say in either support or in opposition to Mr. and Mrs. Ferguson's application, or are you here only for your own?
We're here only for our own.
Okay. And Mary, there's no one else that you see who is from the public who has joined the meeting?
That is correct. Maya Tomasello was on, but she has left.
Okay. Are there any other questions of the board members? Mrs. Ferguson, I will commend you, by the way, for your submission of your letter as well as your testimony. You probably didn't have to read it because you did just fine, but is there anything else that you would like to say before the board considers the application?
I appreciate your time and consideration this evening, and thank you for your compliment.
Is there any comments from the board, or is there a motion?
Well, like I said at the last meeting that we had in reference to making that particular area looking very nice as far as our community is concerned, I'd just like to repeat the same thing. And I will make a motion for it for approval.
Been moved to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. All board members in favor can just say aye.
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 Are there any opposed? No opposition, so it's a unanimous approval. And By the way, I would also like to say, as we're looking at the cottage, if that's, it is really, really very attractive and will be a good addition to the neighborhood.
Thank you very much. We love it.
Thank
Okay. All right, our next applicant is an appeal requesting a special exception for a conditional use to hold outdoor events for up to 100 guests, and a request to modify previously authorized conditional use to allow for increased guest capacity at 15 Harrison Avenue. The applicant is Giovanni Pino Tomasello, and welcome, Mr. and Mrs. Tomasello. Dave, will you please give us a view of this application?
Yes, sir. The previous owners of the bed and breakfast, the Waysted Inn, had been granted a conditional use allowing up to 30 dinner guests inside that were not guests of the bed and breakfast. So that conditional use continues. And the Tomasellos would like to, actually, they would like to increase the number of dinner guests allowable. I had spoken with Mr. Tomasello just this morning, and we originally put this in at 50 guests. So he would like it to be considered for 75 because that meets better the criteria of the Worcester County Liquor Licensing Board. And he also would like now to be able to outdoors on a special event basis, say for a wedding or a retirement dinner or a graduation, to place temporary tents on the lawn for up to 100 guests for those events. And also the idea where behind the building, he would have a mobile restroom station for those events.
And that is shown on the exhibit that we're looking at in the center. Is that correct, Dave?
Yes. You see the restroom trailer right behind the inn in the middle of the picture? And then you see the two tents, one to the left behind the inn and one out to the front, showing a sample of a layout. Let's say if you were having a wedding reception at the inn, where, you know, what it would, how many people you could accommodate and what the seating and the flow would be like. So he's put some effort into this with a site plan. And I believe in the packet, he also has a letter from the Worcester County Library Board president to allow, when the library is closed, he can utilize their parking area, which is adjacent to the inn property, which is, you know, good use of overflow parking. And we don't have to worry so much about traffic in front of the, on Harrison Avenue and out onto Main Street, and, you know, no parking problems, you know, headed downtown.
Okay. Mary, if you'll take that down, please, so that we can, I have lost Mr. and Mrs. Tomasello. There they are.
Yep.
Folks, if you are the applicants, so if you will raise your right hand, please, I will swear you in. You do solemnly declare and affirm under the penalties of perjury that the testimony you're about to give before this board is the truth and the whole truth.
I do.
I do.
Okay. The situation is, as Dave, as I recall, this is a bed and breakfast, so it is a conditional use. So this would be just putting additional conditions that the board considers appropriate with regard to the conditional use at the property, correct?
That's correct. We're just expanding conditional uses that are in place.
Right. And we have in the packet the agreement between the county commissioners of Worcester County, with respect to the utilization of the parking lot at the library. But the condition in there, of course, is that Mr. and Mrs. Tomasello are required to give 3 weeks' notice of the event that's coming and the other conditions in the license agreement. Mr. and Mrs. Tomasello, I presume that you agreed to the conditions in that approval process? For the
Yes.
Okay, so that would be made part of any condition if the board grants the request this evening. And also in the application is also the, excuse me, the signed approval of the request by the other neighbor on the other side, which is Mr. Joseph Hill. So that's part of the record at all. Pino or Mrs. Tomasello, whichever or both, whatever you would like to tell the board. I understand you all do now own the property. Is that correct?
That
Yes.
is correct. Thank you all for having us and considering our request. We do own the property. We are leasing it to our daughter-in-law and son. My daughter-in-law will be doing the daily running of the inn itself, the 10-room inn, which will be the main focus of the business. Now, we have had people approach us about having tented events at this venue because they've looked at it for so long and thought it just has a nice big lawn out front. So if you remember from looking at that map, Coastal Tented Events actually made this map for us. And what we're proposing is not both at the same time. We're proposing one option or the other. So this would be something we would show to a potential bride or someone who's having a fundraiser with us. So the front, you see front event space that faces Harrison Avenue or actually Main Street. So that would be an option for them to hold 100 guests. Or we could do a tent in the back of the property and that would hold 100 events. So we're not asking for both, we're asking for one or the other. But again, it's an option that they can look at and decide. Or it's also a plan A, plan B in case, at the back of the property does get a little bit soggy after a big rain. So it would be a plan B for an event. If it didn't work out in the back, we could have the tent in the front. So they have, shown in the tent seating for 100 guests. So that's our first request, is that we could be allowed these tented events. We're probably talking at the most, once we get going, which is in about 5 months, maybe 2. Again, it's not going to be our focus. The focus would be the running of the actual inn itself. But we just feel it's a nice option, especially in light of COVID, if people are wanting to do more outdoor events, they're wanting to do smaller events. So our ideal event might not be 100, it might be 50. We really don't want to be overwhelmed at all. We don't want to overwhelm the property at all. We want to try to keep it nicely manicured. So, but we just feel 100 would be a good number. And since we have the parking option, which the county has so graciously granted us, again, like you said, it won't affect the side streets in Berlin. If it would be a Saturday and there's something going on, we feel like we won't interfere with anything that's going on in downtown Berlin. So that's our first request.
All right. Well, do you want to address the second request at this time? Because I suspect we'll make a motion on the both of them together.
Sure. So if we were allowed 75 seats interior, then Joe, then that way we could ask for not only a beer wine license, but a beer wine liquor license. So for us, that's important because we would like to offer that to not only the guests that are having events, but we feel as though the clients coming to the inn, again, it's just 5 rooms, but we plan to make it a little bit upscale, and we want to be able to provide them with what they're used to enjoying. So if we could, we've looked over we've gone through the entire building, and we could easily, with a little maneuvering, have 75 seats. Now, that's not something we want to do nightly, obviously. Again, you could grant and say, well, when you have a private event, again, we could have seating for 75, but it's not something we want to do on a nightly basis. But it would assure us the liquor option of the beer, wine, liquor
Right.
license.
And for the record, it is correct that in order to get liquor in addition to beer and wine, you have to have a minimum of 70 seats. I am presuming that you all realize that layout and approval, were the board to grant your request, would be subject to the approval of the Worcester County Fire Marshal as well.
Correct.
Correct, yeah.
Mhm.
All right. So the Fire Marshal, of course, is going to be looking to the accommodation of life safety with respect to the capacity allowed.
Sure.
Okay. Anything else that you would like to bring to the board?
I mean, we pretty much will be satisfied with that if, you know, we've been in the restaurant business for so many years that I think to have a liquor, it makes, you know, it makes the dining more experience, more, you know, better for us. It's not that we want to have, I'm not looking for, you know, to have a full house every night, you know, but we would like to have a liquor license. You say it's a 70 seat? I thought it was a 75, Joe.
I believe it's 70, but
Okay, even
but
better.
seven-
Then 70, whatever the minimum would be is all
Right.
we ask for. And again, it's not something we would,
beer, wine, and liquor when you're serving food is 70 seats inside.
Mhm.
Okay.
As many seats outside as you want, in addition to that, of course.
Okay.
I think that's correct too, Mr. Moore.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anything else that you all would like to bring to the board's attention? Any questions by board members?
I have 2 questions, but one question is, what is the difference between an inn and a bed and breakfast? Would it still be like a weekend, or are you talking for a longer time that the individual would be there at the inn? What is the difference?
well, they're very much the same. We plan to run the 5 rooms as a bed and breakfast. Maya will be providing breakfast for the guests. So it's really
Oh,
B&B in, they're all one and the same, really, in this case.
The other question, do you think there would be an issue in you getting a liquor license? Have you looked into that at all?
I don't see, we have looked into that and we've talked to April, and she foresees no problem whatsoever in the beer wine at all, especially since they used to carry one. I think they let it go. But I don't foresee a problem in that at all. But
I agree with that. Both the Tomasellos have held licenses for years and years, and this is an appropriate location for it. So that won't be a problem.
Okay.
I only have, this is Woody Bunting. I only have a question regarding parking. The one use you're proposing for 100, that event, or even the 70, 75, I haven't seen a site plan that demonstrates how you would park subject to, you know, what you'll be able to do for the library.
If we can have a picture of the site plan again, so I think we had it before.
Yeah, the site plan, there you go.
Okay, So I don't think it shows here, but there was, we are rearranging the parking in the back. There was a dumpster right in the middle, and it was taking like 2 parking spots. And
You can see it there. It's like that.
yeah,
space.
so in between those 2 trees in the back, there is also a way to park. I mean, we could easily put in there 25 by rearranging, you know, the way, you know, they had the setup. And we also believe that, yes, parking isn't necessarily, but, you know, nowadays, a lot of people, they like, you know, use Ubers or I think I mean, not to mention, but with sellers, we had a 30 parking. We used to do up to over 200 covers, which thanks to my wife used to drive me crazy. But so by removing a couple of things, including the dumpster, we can make the parking a little bit better than what we have now.
Does, regarding the issue, is a site plan required to be approved by planning commission that addresses those issues that we're talking about regarding parking? Do you have to prepare a site plan for this proposed use?
Maybe Joe, maybe you have more knowledge, you know, of the legal board. Do they require site plans? I don't
Dave?
believe in it.
It's a good point, because we are expanding the use, even though it was previously approved with the parking it's got.
Right.
Now you're expanding that. So it's a good point, and I'd have to look into that. You could make it a condition of approval.
Well, let me add, I'm not suggesting I'm opposed to the proposed uses. I'm just
Right.
wondering how this issue would be addressed, that's all.
Yeah, it's a good point when they are not having a lawn event, if you want to call it that, and it's all interior. Are there enough parking spots along the drive or in the rear to accomplish it without overflow? It's something I'll have to look into about the planning commission.
So obviously, were we to grant the approval, it'd be subject to any additional required review by the planning
Of
commission.
course. Mhm.
Yes. That could be one of your conditions. That's correct.
Mhm.
Okay.
Woody, anything else?
No, that was my only concern.
Any other questions or comments by the board?
I have a few regarding the fire marshal approval. Does the fire marshal assess the maximum occupancy of outdoor seating not on the deck, but in the rear yard as well, on the property?
Yes, they have to review the tent setup, because they have to know the ingress and egress. How do you get in the tent? How do you get out of the tent? The fire marshal does approve those site plans also, John.
So would that be, these tents are removable, I'm presuming?
Yeah.
So would they inspect these plans for each event?
Typically, you have the same type of tent that you use, you know, like a restaurant will have, they all have bought the tent. So there's a floor plan of the tent and an approved layout of the tables under it. And that's what the fire marshal would review. So not on each individual, you know, May 1st, May 15th, June 1st, not typically, no.
Okay, then I would almost recommend we have an approval from the fire marshal regarding the tents and their locations prior to us being able to, or at least myself, being able to make a decision on it.
Or, John, are you saying prior to making the decision, or making a decision subject to the approval of the fire marshal?
making a decision subject to the approval of the fire marshal.
Right.
And then another question I have was the exception of use for this property originally was given for a use as an inn. Is that correct?
Correct.
But these events that would be taking place are commercial events. They are for profit. That's correct.
Mhm.
The surrounding properties to the inn here are mainly residential, except for the library itself. And such a large event as a 100-person wedding located at the rear of the property with a large tent, music that can go on later in night, especially including alcohol, can get rather loud. I know that living in Austin Circle, we can hear the brewery, we hear events up on Main Street. This is a change in the environment of the neighborhoods, I would have to say. Is there a code issue here with granting these exceptions for these events at all, Dave?
No. There is, we do have on the code a noise ordinance, so that would apply to any commercial operation for music or crowd or any kind of performance. But that's all, that's controlled by the police department, the noise ordinance.
So we're looking to approve an exception again for the property to allow special events outside. Is that correct?
That's
So
right.
that's the second exception made for this one property.
Yes, sir.
Any other board questions or comments? Mr. and Mrs. Tomasello, anything you would like to add?
Well, he did bring up the music issue. And of course, if you, again, put a stipulation and said, well, we will do this, but all music has to stop at whatever time you give us, obviously we will abide by that. But we would need to know this so we can tell prospective guests, okay, here are the rules, and they would have to sign contracts stating that they will abide by the rules. We would have someone on site at every event to be sure that we do not violate any type of noise ordinance or let things get out of control. I mean, we would be responsible for that. And I think, as Joe said, we've held multiple liquor licenses in the county for the past 40 years, and we've yet to have a violation. So I feel as though we've shown we're very responsible citizens and do not want to disrupt the neighbors. That's not our intent at all.
And sorry to interrupt you. I would also like to say to John, I mean, this is not going to be, every day or every week. I mean, this is, it might be once a month, once every other month in the summer, not in the winter. So, I mean, times we're gonna have it, it's hard to really say. But we just, want to make sure that we're not going to create no problem, with nobody. And we love the property, and we want to make a beautiful spot, for the Berlin.
I will say that with respect to outdoor music in residential areas, particularly in Ocean City or West Ocean City, the Board of License Commissioners normally would stop any outdoor entertainment or music at 10 p.m. John, you're a resident of Austin Circle. Would a 10 p.m. limitation, do you think, satisfy the residents of the area?
I would almost have to say that that's still somewhat hard to swallow due to the zoning of this location. You've got some quaint little neighborhoods here. Brittany Lane, Austin Circle, the historic homes down Main Street. And, from experience, sound travels far throughout Berlin, from Main Street events, from the brewery again. And going into 10 o'clock at night, surely, once a month, sure, but this is a beautiful piece of property. It will be sought after for wedding venues. I myself would entertain, wanting to be remarried at your guys' property, sure. But I think knowing the way that weddings can go, and noise regulations with the zoning of this already, I don't know if a time restraint would help in the matter.
Regardless of what that time restraint is.
I mean, if it was brought down to dusk, I don't know if that hurts business, and kind of hurts the attitude of the events they're willing to hold. But I can ask that question. If it was shut off at dusk, is that a possibility?
Well, dusk, as we know, changes. So in the summer, dusk is 9 o'clock. So I guess the options would be, if there was if any amplified music was allowed, what time would you want it to end? Or would you rather see non-amplified music and let that go till 10? I mean, I guess, we have to take what we can get here, again, and not upset any surrounding neighbors. That's definitely not our intent.
And this is Woody Bunting again, and I understand what John's concerns here. And I think they are legitimate. I feel like it, and I think he alluded to this, it's kind of difficult to decide at this point what degree that this property should be allowed to be changed. I mean, again, I'm not opposed to your events. It's more the size. It's almost like I wish we had more information to determine how many events you're considering. I know you just referred to maybe one a month. Maybe if there was a commitment to a certain number of events that you would not exceed. But I'd also, again, I'd like to fall back to this question about parking and how the property is going to be utilized, because you mentioned earlier how there's like a drainage or it could be wet in the back, and this is exactly where you're referring to parking.
No. The parking you see on that site plan is up on right in the back of the inn, so that's elevated. That can always be.
Oh yeah, I'm just interested in seeing how, if a site plan were prepared, how you would show, and I don't know, this is a question to some degree to Dave, how many spots would be required for 75 people for indoor dining, or 100 people outside for an event? I mean, that's still a major question to me, because I think I just see it as being somewhat difficult to do.
Well, remember, we have for the 100-person events, we're utilizing the library.
Yeah, and that is very important. I did see that in the application. Is it fair, Joe, to ask, can something like this be tabled until there is more information or more approvals from, say, the Planning Commission, or comments from Planning Commission, or not?
I want to say a couple things. Number one, Woody, I think, was probably the only member presently sitting when we made the original consideration. At that time, I was the lone vote against it, not because I didn't agree with the potential use of the property, but I thought it would be more appropriate that it be rezoned. However, I will say two things. Number one, the property has been probably underutilized for a significant parcel of land. And John, I am aware, obviously, of the neighboring residential use. Secondly, I am personally familiar with both Pino and Mrs. Tomasello and their longstanding benefit to the community in which they put their excellent experience in culinary dining. If we voted in favor of it, I'd probably make a condition that Pino's got to be the chef for any of these things. But in a more serious vein, what I'm getting is a sense from the board folks that they would like some more information and perhaps a review of the Planning Commission. And I'm not prejudiced in favor of this, but if there is a way to get the board comfortable, I do know that in my firm opinion, the Tomasellos are the kind of business operators that we should welcome to the town. And as I say, John, as you know, I live down on South Main Street. I hear from uptown, but I'm not the next door neighbor like you are. Folks, if there is no objection from the Tomasellos and that you have to have a decision tonight, then I would believe that it would be appropriate to table this so that Dave could get the concerns of the board members with respect to matters and either take it from a staff review and a recommendation to the board, or if he believes it appropriate, to take it to the Planning Commission for their input. If there's any way that we can satisfy the board members, I certainly think that the business acumen and the good history of Mr. and Mrs. Tomasello in all their functions would be a benefit to the town. So if, unless there's an objection and you all insist on voting tonight, Woody, if you would want to make a motion that it be tabled, I certainly would entertain that.
Well, first I
Mr.
would
Ward,
like,
just as a point of order, I guess, and I don't actually know how this would be handled. There are two questions, or a question and a observation, that have been posted. I don't know if you want to review those at this point, or if the motion does get tabled, if they don't get entered into the record.
Mary, I'm not sure. You're a little scratchy. What, you do not believe it should be tabled? Is
No,
that?
I'm asking you. I don't know what the procedure on that.
She had public comment, Joe, and she didn't know if it should be in this meeting before you table it
Oh,
or not.
public comments?
Yes.
Well, certainly if we want to hear the public comments, we could then make a motion as a result of that.
Okay, Malia Ricks has submitted one question and an observation. The first question, and I'm sorry, actually, Ms. Ricks, I'm going to allow you to speak. You should be able to unmute at this point. Perhaps not. Her first question was, is this an application for a restaurant?
Mrs. Tomasello?
Oh, no, we've already been given approval to have a breakfast, lunch, and dinner if we choose, but right now it's only been approved for up to 30 guests.
Okay, and her next statement is the parking will be an issue. We all already have overflow issues on weekends when town events are happening. Also, as a neighbor, I do not want to hear music and partying every weekend for 100 guests. That isn't really a question that bears a response at this point. but it should be part of the record.
You got it?
Okay, well, we've already said that we don't plan to have 100 persons each weekend. That's not what our goal is. We don't plan to have a partying type atmosphere. That's not our goal as well. We'll be interviewing these clients. We're not taking everyone, and we'll want to make sure that they know what our goal is. And our goal is, again, not to have 100 people ruin our landscaping. And it's meant to be for intimate events, not for a large partying crowd at all. That's not our intent. And as far as the music goes, again, whatever you would allow us to do, we'll abide by that. Again, the music might be dictated by the liquor license as well. So whether it's amplified or non-amplified, but if you want to dictate it to us, that's fine.
Do we have anyone else, Mary, who wants to speak?
Maya Tomasello is on the Zoom. I don't know if she wishes to speak or not. If so, Ms. Tomasello, you should be able to unmute at this point. I will take it that is a no.
Okay.
All right. Do I understand there are no more public comments?
That's correct.
Okay. Woody, well, any member of the board?
Well, Joe, I would like to say that I agree with everything you said about the Tomasellos. They certainly are very well-respected business people. I have no problem with what they are proposing to do. It's just, there's a few details that I would like to see, if it's possible, if we can get more information on. I think it might even be beneficial to them to see how the property is going to be utilized. But that's why I was asking, and I guess I can put it in the form of a motion.
Yeah, you
if we could,
the table, certainly.
I have one more question. This conditional use, though, is granted to the property itself and not the owners. Is that correct?
That is correct.
So if, for unforeseeable circumstances, if the property was sold, this exception would carry with the property.
That is correct, Dave.
Yes, unless the use ceases for more than 1 calendar year. And then it would be not continue with the property. In the case of the Tomasellos, the previous conditional use carried over because there was no lapse in the use. They were still open as a bed and breakfast, and they were still allowed, if they wanted to serve up to 30 dinner guests or meal guests outside of the room guests. So now they had come to this idea to expand the amount of food guests they could have, outside room guests, and also the outdoor events.
Thank you.
John, I want the record to be clear that when some folks that are on the screen know me better than others, but my notion of having the condition of having Pino be a chef was meant in jest. I did not seriously mean that would be, but if Pino's cooking, a lot more people are going to enjoy it. So yeah, but the conditional use does go with the land. Woody, I'm not sure whether you made a motion or not.
I was gonna, if appropriate, I was gonna make a motion that we do table this decision until either Mr. Engelhardt gets back to us with more details on how particularly the traffic flow and parking situation would be handled for those number of guests either use, the 75 interior or the 100 outside. What is the maximum number? In other words, basically a site plan, how a site plan might be approved, or whether that should be approved by the planning commission. And also perhaps more detail as to how often these events would be held and what, the season was mentioned, I think summer. How many, could there be a maximum number of events that, we could impose that would be satisfactory to the Tomasellos? But there's more detail. My motion is, could we get more detail, table this until we have more detail to make a decision?
Well, and I think, Dave, you're hearing that the motion as it stands would be also that possibly consideration by the planning commission would be appropriate because they have site plan approval.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Is there a second to Woody's motion?
Second.
Okay. Anybody opposed to tabling it, members of the board, or is everybody in favor of tabling it? Anyone in objection to tabling? Okay. Then I will take that as an affirmative vote. The request of Mr. and Mrs. Tomasello will be tabled until Mr. Engelhardt notifies us that it's appropriate based upon your review and that of the Planning Commission for us to reconvene the hearing for further consideration. Okay,
Yes, sir.
very good. All right.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you for your consideration and your time.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
And
Thank you.
I believe that is the last item on the agenda for the Board of Zoning Appeals. So I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion, we adjourn.
Okay. And I don't need a second. When I was on the Board of Governors at the Maryland Bar Association, the statement was that a motion to adjourn does not need a second because the building might be on fire. So I'll just declare that the meeting is adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Good night.
Good night.
Night all. Thank you.